You have to be the one who's going to be out there in front of everybody and bleeding and essentially their savior, because that's what you have to do. I mean, it doesn't matter. You have to show up every single day. Welcome to the Spinoso Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso. My expertise is in scaling all types of medical businesses to 7, 8, and 9 figures. And I'm not telling you guys this is what you should do, just how I did it. And hopefully that helps you in your business. It helps you in your life. It helps you become a better leader at home and at work. So let's get into it today, guys. As always, joined by the amazing Amanda May, wearing the biker outfit today.
Yeah,
I like it.
Went a little badass.
That looks
time.
badass. I like that. That looks really cool.
I think that's the first time I wore it.
Ever?
I don't really go anywhere. I work from home.
So you dress up for the podcast and then hang out at home the rest of the day.
Yeah.
That's essentially what I do.
Yeah.
It's funny because when we go out, so my wife and I have date night every week. And when we go out, there is all those videos and memes out there where the woman is dressed up like to the nines, where she looks amazing. She has her Louboutins or her YSL shoes in her purse and this amazing dress. And she's very frugal when it comes to dresses. So her dresses are like from Windsor that are $60 is an expensive dress there. And she looks killer in it. And then I'm in like jeans and a t-shirt. And it's like, that's me dressing up. And I have polos, but I look just like a douche in polos. Like you can't. It's hard to dress up for men without going completely overboard. I feel there's no in between. It's either you're just like you're all in and you're wearing a dress shirt, tucked in with nice dress pants and nice shoes, or you're wearing sneakers and jeans and a t-shirt. There's no in between. Is there an in between? Tell me this: is there an in between for men that I should be wearing? Like, what's the in between? I feel like even when my wife dresses down is in between, she's super cute and dressed up and stuff. I don't think there's an in between for dudes.
Well, I think it's like the styling. It's like monochromatic is always gonna look more like polished. So you could do like all black, all blue, like the same kind of tones, same fabrics.
Yeah.
I'm
imagining a Puma tracksuit when you say those things. Yeah.
Not that.
I don't think that's what you were imagining. Okay.
Like, you could do like a plain black t-shirt or like a V-neck, I guess, and like some black jeans and sneakers, and that would probably look more dressed up than like regular jeans and your Spinoso or Genesis t-shirt. Yeah. So just like slight variation.
I just need to hire like my sister or somebody to come and dress me every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Steph doesn't give a fuck. She's like, wear a nicer outfit or a nicer shirt. And that just means wear like a polo shirt that I have.
So if she doesn't care, then it's fine.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But it's always there's two dresses, dress levels that I have. It's like suited completely or it's, poor / billionaire. Like derelict from Zoolander.
You could always
just like wear
do
trash
like
out.
A dress shirt and like just a dress shirt and jeans and sneakers, like not a polo, but like in like a suit shirt, but just like a dress shirt.
Everything needs to be tailored though, because I'm like 6'7", so it's hard to find things my size because of how tall I am. Yeah. It's
you have to shop like one of those big and tall stores.
Yeah, because I buy one shirt and I can make like 3 out of them. It's awesome. I just get them tailored. It's like I cut them up and I've got 3 little shirts out of one big and tall shirt.
Interesting though.
Yeah.
Along those lines.
Okay.
When it comes to looking like you've got high-end clothing on, one of the things that you can do as a woman is buy like a piece of fabric or a shirt or whatever dress that's just a little bit too big and then go and have it tailored. And then they will cut down the fabric to fit your body exactly. And it's like, maybe you get a dress for $100, tailoring's $50, and you have this beautiful dress that's made specifically for your body, or jeans that fit specifically to your body, but it's a fraction of the cost of what like custom clothes would be. Actually, I've done that before.
That's pretty fancy.
And usually when I do that, those are the things I get the most compliments on because it fits my body properly. So you might be onto something.
It could.
Big and tall. Just have everything cut down and tailored.
Exactly.
You get 3 shirts
Custom-
for the price of one.
Custom outfits.
Yeah.
100%.
Go with it.
All right. Let's get into it. What are we talking about today? We're talking about a bunch of, it seems like more fun shit today.
Today's fun. Yeah.
Okay.
And so we're going to do something a little unusual today. And in some ways kind of silly, but silly does not mean that it's worthless. Quite valuable, in fact. So we're going to talk about life lessons that you've learned from unreal people. So life lessons, business lessons, and unreal people meaning comic book characters, superheroes, the maybe we could throw in some information about holiday characters, things like that. So characters from movies, literally lessons in life and business from unreal people, real life and life lessons.
All right.
And business lessons.
I got it.
Yeah?
Let's do it. Let's jump into it.
All right. So the first one that we're going to talk about is your all-time favorite, Superman. You absolutely love Superman. And I think it's important to start here because you can tell us a little bit more about the interest in your connection to Superman. And that'll be a good foundation to start this life and business lesson. So to talk about what's your connection, and then what is one life lesson and one business lesson that you have pulled from loving Superman.
When I think like any boy or any kid grows up, they love superheroes in general and love all the different types of superheroes. And I love to draw. I actually got the ability to draw and design from my mom and my grandfather on my mom's side. So they were both artists, incredible artists, and I learned how to draw, and my art side came from their side of the family, and then my analytical and engineering side came from my dad's side of the family. Which is great because I had two parents that were completely like right brain and completely left brain. So I developed really well because I had each one teaching me the other side of the brain to train on, which was really cool. But, my fascination, I guess, with Superman in general came when I was in high school. I was playing, high level competitive soccer, looking to go into college, and I think it was my sophomore year where I was playing in a game and I stepped in a mud hole, and I remember getting tackled from behind while twisting, and I felt a pop in my knee, and immediately I hit the ground screaming. My parents came, ran, picked me up, they threw me in the car, drove me to the hospital. I got a emergency MRI on my knee because it was just giant and swollen, and I'm sitting in the room. And the orthopedic surgeon comes in and he says, bad news, you tore your ACL completely. You're never going to play a high level of soccer again. And it completely crushed me. It was my identity. Being an athlete was everything. Like, it was everything to me. It was the only thing I was really good at. Schooling was like a job. So getting straight A's was like my job to be able to be an athlete. And I didn't play any other sport besides that. So it wasn't like I had a fallback sport or anything, and I wasn't really that smart. So this is it. I had to play soccer, and that absolutely crushed me. And I come home and I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm crying, and my grandpa walks in, Grandpa Giovanni, who is the artist on my mom's side, and he's like, what's wrong, kid? And I told him, my life's over. I can't play soccer anymore. I'm not going to be able to do anything. The orthopedic surgeon said, I won't be able to do anything anymore. I won't be able to play at a high level of soccer anymore. And he just looked at me so nonchalant, and he was like, Alex, you can do anything. You're Superman. And he walked out. And so I went and saw another orthopedic surgeon. I had to wait for 2 years for my growth plates to close in order to get surgery on that knee. But in the meantime, I wore a brace on my knee to be able to play. Had the surgery 6 months later, came back, was playing on the field without any issues. And during that time, he had bought me a gold necklace, a gold chain. It's an Italian Puerto Rican thing, of course. A gold chain with a Superman symbol on it. And Saint Christopher, who was like the saint of legs. He was a cripple that Jesus made walk again. And so that's where my original fascination with real Superman, came from. And the second part of that was my senior year, I believe. I was playing for the Jesuit rugby team, and we were screwing around at practice, racing back and forth to see who was the fastest in the school. And a kid, and I can't remember his name or even his face nowadays, but a kid and myself were racing to see who was the fastest between the two of us. And it was really just us two. And we both left it all out on the field. And after the race, I immediately collapsed, started to throw up. And apparently my heart stopped because I passed out. And when I wake up, my mom was carrying me, and my mom was this short, portly woman. So she was moving. And threw me in the car. And again, I got testing done, and there was no signs of severe heart attacks. There was a lot of stress on the heart, but no severe heart attacks or anything like that. And they couldn't figure out. I wore Holter monitors, all this heart testing for a long time, and they couldn't figure out exactly what had happened at all. They just know that something had some arrhythmia in the heart or something had caused it to stop for a little bit. And Superman is the only superhero as well, early on in the comic books, to die and come back to life and be reborn in Superman Returns. And so that was the second connection that I had to Superman. And I created and designed a Superman tattoo growing up with a little kanji symbol called Overcome, and I'll have to see if I still have the original design. So I designed this Superman symbol on my back and had it covered in flames and stuff like that, which I thought was cool back then. It was even immortal beings burning away, still have the ability to overcome. And so I got that tattoo when I was 18. My mom took me to get the tattoo, actually. Sat in the chair, fed me Swedish fish, which was the fucking worst candy because I passed out. Every time they would hit the spot, I passed out once because it's a tattoo on my back. So every time they would hit the spine, oh, God, that part hurts. And they bloodlined it, which means they don't use a normal black lines. So they actually etch the design in with just a needle, so it's red. So it essentially creates these grooves, so the ink doesn't pass through to another area. It helps with smaller designs, so that the ink doesn't bleed across. So they bloodlined it and then filled it in because there was no black lines originally in it. It was all done by hand, and the colors were really close to each other. So they essentially carved it into my skin, and then did the ink around it. So it was rough. But that being said, the tattoo, I loved it, and I have now Superman, all over my office and stuff like that, just to remind me of those things. So, I mean, I guess what's the lesson in business for that? I mean, I don't know. I never really thought about the lessons that I take from these people. So I'm just going to be making these things up on the spot. But I mean, the lesson that I learned from my grandfather is just when you have to, somebody else can believe in you and breathe life into you when you don't. And it's the same that you need to be a leader or a father or a good spouse, is that you have to be able to breathe life into other people when they don't have any life left in them anymore. And it's the same with your staff. You have to be the one who's going to be out there in front of everybody and bleeding and essentially their savior, because that's what you have to do. I mean, it doesn't matter. You have to show up every single day, no matter what. And mindset has a huge, huge aspect to that. I mean, it's really about what you think. Your thoughts become things 100%. So you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in what you can do. You have to and realize that that's all hoity-toity and wonderful and good, but at the same fucking time, you're going to get kicked in the nuts every fucking day you wake up, being an entrepreneur and pushing towards success. That's a huge part of it. It really is.
So it's such an interesting story. I've heard you tell it a few times, and it's always so impactful.
Different because I keep making it up.
Little extra details that come out when you tell it, but it's such an impactful story. All right, well, let's switch from the Man of Steel to the animated Blue Healers. Your kids, they watch that show Bluey. It's like super popular now.
Yeah, they're Australian. They freaking love it.
Yeah.
Brewy. They can't say L's yet, so they're like little Chinese kids. They're like Chinese kids with Mexican accents. Like brewery. Let's watch a brewery. Like,
That's so
they
good.
say brewery. Oh, brewery. It's so funny. They fucking love it. I love it.
All right, let's talk about the lessons learned from this child's animated character world that they love so much.
So there's a huge subculture around Bluey, and you'll watch Bluey when your girl's older. It's amazing. It really fucking is. It's a great, like, it has adult themes the entire time, and there's giant cults of Instagrams and adult followings and stuff like that of Bluey. Like it's huge. It posted all over Instagram, Facebook. If you just Google or hashtag, Bluey lessons, I mean, 90%, I mean, it's obviously not a bunch of kids on fucking Instagram, but all the adults and all their themes and them crying watching the show and shit like that, because it's pretty fucking good. It's really emotional. And the writers are incredible. So there's some great themes that have, or great episodes that really have like work-related themes. And 3 of them I'll talk about specifically. Like one of them is called Work. So Bluey and Bingo, which it took me a while to figure out, but Bluey, the main character, is actually a girl, and Bingo is her little brother. So it's a girl and a boy, and then obviously mom and dad. And so Bluey and Bingo pretend that they actually go to work, which sounds fucking horrible, right? But kids have have way better imaginations than we do. So in that, it highlights the importance of work-life balance and what it's like to really have a family and pay attention to your family, but actually making the aspect of work fun and making the aspect of work like important. And it's not like they're trying to create little zombie workers in the show or any of that bullshit, but they actually talk about finding your roles in the team at work. What's your role? What brings you joy? How can you contribute to the team and be a team member? And I mean, teamwork is a huge part of our core values at Genesis. We should literally just watch Bluey episodes for trainings. But they have a lot of those themes in that episode, which is really awesome. One of the other ones is called Markets, where Bluey and her dad visit the local market and they talk about money, the exchange of money, trade, the value of different things. So that's really good for entrepreneurs, anybody who's interested in business, principles of economy, negotiation, bartering, stuff like that. And then the third episode, Hotel, is Bluey, Bingo, and Bandit, one of their friends. They play and like create their own hotel. And so they're learning, entrepreneurship and customer service and managing business, and also like unexpected situations that hotels have, and how to control that and things like that. So Bluey is great for entrepreneurs, is great for anybody who has kids and they want their kids to have something that's low stimulating. So it's a low stimulating show, because nowadays there's some shows out there. My kids love Paw Patrol. They love Paw Patrol. But Paw Patrol turns them into fucking gremlins. They are fucking animals. Because it's just, super 3D, lights flashing, moving really fast, bunch of shit, and it gets them super stimulated, and then they are fucking just giant. I don't even know how to describe them. They're like the baby in The Incredibles where he turns into a monster and he's just like ripping out hair and biting people. It's fucking him.
So that's not, yeah, I mean, interesting, because chameleon or something? Or
Coco Melon.
Coco Melon.
That shit is fucked up too.
That's another one.
fuck
I've
up your
seen
kid.
people saying that their kids have to like detox from it, like literally addicted to it. And I watched because I was like, what is this about? I watched a breakdown of the cartoon itself, and it shows like the layered noises where it's like it's not really how a situation would play out, where there's like laughing over here and then there's sound effects and then this thing's happening on the screen and this thing at the same time. So it's like all this stuff is happening at the same time and they're overstimulated, and then they get really bored with normal things because there's not enough going on. So I thought that was really interesting. But
there's a ton of connections with that actually, and I could go deep into that, but I can see it clear as day with my children when they watch something that's super stimulating, like Paw Patrol, versus when they watch Bluey, or when they watch there's a Puffin Rock, or there's a Dinosaur Train, I think it's called, which are much lower stimulating. If I turn it off, they don't fight at all. If they don't get to watch it, they don't fight at all. As soon as they watch, 30 minutes, 15, 20 minutes of Paw Patrol, if I turn it off, they fucking go ape shit. Or if sometimes they get to watch a little bit of TV while we're cooking, while they're sitting in their chairs, and we have them play Sesame Street, or again Leo the Train. I think it's Leo the Truck. I don't know what the fuck he is, but it's very low stimulating. So if we turn it off when they have to eat, they're cool. If they were watching like Paw Patrol, it's a fucking nightmare. And Bella, we detoxed them again recently because they started to watch more TV, more meaning like 30 minutes instead of 15 minutes. Bella like detoxed for a fucking day. She was a monster for like a fucking day from the TV. TV, Paw Patrol all day long. And the day after that, it was fine, back to normal. But yeah, those stimulating shows will fuck up your children. I mean, I used to stare and watch Coco Melon when they were like really bad, and they would go ape shit from like 6 to 8, the witching hour. I would fucking turn on Coco Melon and all four of us, the triplets and me, we staring at the TV like we're fucking just in it.
We're like conditioning them to love Vegas.
Yeah, it's like baby crack.
So
it's definitely not good. We do a lot of we do the low stimulating shows, and I mean, again, Coco Melon, that doesn't fucking teach you shit. It's a bunch of songs, but it does not teach you shit. Those other shows that are low stimulating, Bluey and your Puffin Rock and stuff, they always have a lesson. It's like the old school cartoons. A lot of times there was a lot of lessons there that were to be learned, except for maybe the Roadrunner or Wile E. Coyote, who just try to kill each other all day long, which I guess is a good lesson as well when you get into business. Yeah. You're killing your competition as much as possible. But Bluey is a great show. It's great themes, and finding those great things nowadays for kids, I think, is a little bit harder. There isn't books that are always, they don't all have a lesson in them. I'm reading the old books, and the old books all had a lesson. Like I love one of the books that we read them all the time that they love, La Gallina Roja. So it's the red hen, and the whole story. She's cooking bread, but she does it from the beginning. So she sows the field, grows the grain, harvests the grain, shakes it out, pounds it into powder, breaks the bread, and the entire time she's asking all the other farm animals to help, and they're like, no. And then at the end, they're like, she baked this bread, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll help you eat it. And you know what she says in the book? This is an old school book. Fuck no. She doesn't say fuck no, but she's pretty much like, fuck you guys. Like I cooked and I made this whole time and I worked this whole time, and all you guys did was fucking sit around, do fucking nothing, and now you're gonna eat my bread? Fuck you. And that's how the book ends, literally. Really? With her being just like, no. Like
what a great lesson. It's awesome. In not being a people pleaser.
Yeah. It's just straight up like, no. The book ends with a fuck you. I'm like, this is awesome. Yeah, it's an old school book. I mean, the Velveteen Rabbit, I mean, that's a good one too. It's pretty much rabbit getting made fun of by all the other toys. You're not a real rabbit or whatever, and then he gets his wish granted. He's a real rabbit. It's the same story as Pinocchio. But all these things have lessons. Like people are like, oh, those old stories have dark themes. Yeah, because they actually had real life lessons. The world is dark. It's got a lot of fucking fucked up shit in it, and making everybody happy all the time and everybody is sweet and there's no problems in the world is a terrible way to write a book or a cartoon show. And Bluey doesn't do that. Bluey has a lot of, there's a lot of themes and problems and issues and stuff like that they get through as a family, and there's always some sort of lesson. So it's really good to watch shows like that or have shows like that or read books like that. I know a good colleague of mine and friend, I'm speaking like my kids now, and friend Andy Frisella, he's got Otis and Charlie books, and those are his two bulldogs, but his bulldogs do different things. Like they run a fruit stand, so he talks about business, or they train for a race, and so it learns about like winning and losing. So there's a lot of adult themes in it, but also important themes for real life to actually teach your kids what's important. So that's why I love books like, La Gallina Roja, which is pretty much like at the end, just fuck you, dude. You ain't gonna help me get there. You didn't help me get here. I mean, you ain't sharing at the top when we get here.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Best book ever.
That's great. So that's an awesome lesson, business lesson from watching and reading these books with your kids. Okay, so let's switch a little to movies. We'll do 2 movies, 1 comedy, and like 1 drama. And so if there's a character that you can pick from 1 comedy and 1 drama that you have learned a life or business lesson from and that you've applied it, what would you say?
Oh, I would say one of the recurring movies that I always talk about and I love to see is actually a play as well. It was actually a play before it was a movie. Number 1 is, I would say, Chicago. So I don't know if you've ever seen Chicago or watched it or gone to the play or whatever, but it's essentially a whole bunch of women who killed their husbands or significant others. They're all in jail. It's a story about each one of them, their story, what they went through, how they were a victim in the cases, etc. And the whole the whole play is revolving around each of their stories and their lawyer who represents them. One of the main songs and dances, one of the main numbers is called Razzle Dazzle. And it's all about how the main character named Roxy, who obviously killed her husband, but it was in self-defense and all that stuff, she doesn't have to worry because the lawyer has created this ridiculously awesome defense. And he's like, it doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter all the details. It doesn't matter any of that. If you razzle and dazzle them, if you give them the old razzle dazzle, then they will believe us. No matter what we say, you just got to give them the razzle dazzle. And there's a whole aspect of that, I think, in business, and I think in leadership, and I think in everything where they don't have to, a lot of times people don't have to know the details. They don't have to know all the things of the what if. If you talk well, you speak well, you give them the old razzle dazzle, essentially, people will believe you. They'll trust you. And that doesn't mean on the backside you're a piece of shit, but it's funny because in Chicago, obviously, Roxy killed her husband in self-defense. But that's the whole aspect of it. And I bring that to people nowadays all the time, worried about, well, what if they say this or what if they say that or when you present or everything. It's people don't really fucking care about the content of what you're talking about. They don't care about all the little details. If you give them the razzle dazzle, give them the old razzle dazzle, they will love it and they'll remember you. And they might have learned 1 lesson or they might have learned 0 lessons, but it's fucking entertaining. And if it's entertaining, you can see how that works on TikTok and Instagram, where the more you garner eyes, the more you garner entertainment from people. And the more you entertain people, the more people love you. That's just how it is. So give them the old razzle dazzle. That's the theme from Chicago that I love. And then the other one, I guess the other drama, I would say is called Big Fish. It's called Big Fish, right? Yes, it's a book and it's a movie. And Ewan McGregor excellent actor. Which actually, I think Ewan McGregor is also in Chicago when they did the movie. That's weird. I never actually made that connection. I don't have some love for Ewan McGregor. I think he's just good in dramatic scenes. But Big Fish, and I read the book before I watched the movie. It's about an old man who is on his deathbed and he's telling his son about all these stories of his life, and it's over the top where he served in the military and jumped out of the plane on D-Day and landed on the beach, and he traveled the world with a circus, and he did circus acts, and when he met his wife, like time stood still, and there's all these beautiful visuals, but at the same time, it's all these wild stories where there's so many things that are connected or disconnected, if you will, where he was part of a circus. What? He's a circus act, and he, was in the military, and all these other stories that seemingly are just like, these are people who would normally live a whole lifetime in one of those aspects. And he was essentially a Renaissance man, doing everything, trying everything. And then his son didn't really believe him. And as he is dying, his son starts to tell him the story instead, starts to tell him a story. And he was a storyteller. So he tells his father's story, he passes away, and then they show his funeral, and they describe his funeral where all those characters that he talked about show up to his funeral. And so it wasn't like his father was stretching by any means of the truth. He would obviously embellish the stories and tell great stories, but all those people were real. They had real themes. And I always thought that was such a powerful thing for me as a kid, because it's like I wanted to be like that. I wanted to be the Renaissance man. I wanted to, when I die, I want to be completely and thoroughly used up, where I have nothing else left to give to anybody because I gave everything. And it was all out there for everyone to have. And maybe nobody shows up to my funeral, but there was all those stories that I have of how I used to be a b-boy breakdancer and, performed on stage for my medical team and performed in front of dancers from So You Think You Could Dance. And, I was a frat boy, and I played professional soccer in England, and, I ran a medical business, and I was a doctor, and I was, I studied and have my MBA, and I'm an ordained minister, so I've done weddings. So it's like all those different things that I have done that I could tell stories about, and I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and I've stood in the Colosseum, and all those different things that I've done that would usually be one person's one thing that they grab onto. And it's funny because we were actually that experience has been in the back of my mind. So when people say, "Oh, it's not like doing that," I could say, "Yeah, I've done that." And I always picture a scene in my head, Steven Seagal, where Steven Seagal, I know the movies are fucking terrible, but they were good growing up. And he's got a polygraph test on, and they're trying to test whether the polygraph is I guess locked in or calibrated right. So they ask him one thing that's one question that's a truth, and one question that he's a yes, and so it'll be green, and one question that's supposed to be a no, and it's supposed to obviously flash red, and they know that he's telling the truth, right? So the first question was, your name is such and such, his name in the movie, and he's like, yes, and it flashes green. And the second question was, and you've climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and he said yes, and it like flashes green, and they're like, what? Like, what the fuck? And they realize obviously that he had climbed, he's telling the truth. Both of them were yes. And I digress with all these fucking stories to tell you this story. We were at my wife's ortho follow-up appointment for her knee. She's doing great. She has no restrictions now. And so the orthopedic surgeon comes in, talks to her. And this guy is a badass, and I could tell he's a badass because his ears are just fucking fully cauliflowered. I don't know how the dude could hear. So he's a fighter. Super fit guy. Long fucking hair. He looks like Sabretooth in the comics. He's pretty badass. And she's like, what are my restrictions? And he's like nothing. Like, she's like, so can I run? Can I like do everything? And he's like, well, you could, like, I wouldn't go climb Mount Kilimanjaro today. And she goes, oh, that's funny. He's done that. He's like, you have? And I'm like, yeah. And so it was a cool thing because it's like that episode, that big fish mindset where at the end of my life, I want to be able to say I did so much stuff that when somebody says, oh, like, I did that, or I tried this, or I did that, and I could say like, yeah, I did that too. And not only that I did it at like a high level, and not everything. I won't be able to do everything at a high level, but I could do probably a lot of shit at a high level, or try, or attempt. So I could speak to people, and I think you connect with different people, being able to do. And I think I connect with people with having that history, having that story, having the experiences that other people have had, so you can connect with them.
Yeah, it's that connection point is important. And it's like what I hear you saying is it's living life to the fullest.
As much as you can without being cliche bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, try pushing the limits, I guess. Yeah, absolutely. As much as you can.
Those are great lessons. So complete absurdity, if we will. We're going to go a little rapid fire.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you a list of imaginary, unreal people associated with the holidays.
Yes.
And so for each one, tell me a lesson that you've either learned in business or life from each one of these characters.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Let's do it.
Santa Claus.
Be legendary. Because Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, was actually real. They have stories tracing him back and how he would, deliver toys to orphans overnight and all those things. So I guess be so awesome that they turn you into a legend. And whether that legend is meant to make sure that children behave or not, infamous or famous, people are still fucking talking about you.
That's great. The Easter Bunny.
Oh, God. I guess... fuck like rabbits. I have no idea. Like what lessons, and it's funny because I don't have time to go back, but I've read all of the history of all these specific animals, and I think the Easter Bunny, the symbolism is life and procreation and everything like that, and the egg was also like life and procreation, so they just kind of like got hodgepodge together and turned into like this actual Easter Bunny visiting on Easter and delivering eggs and chocolate and stuff like that, but it's got deeper meaning to that. So I guess that would be like life and procreation, and the only purpose of life is to procreate and create this, continue to survive as a human being. It's probably not a children's theme in that one, and I think most of these weren't actually children's themes growing up.
Okay, what about Cupid?
Oh, the love thing. Again, another Greek god, I believe. It might be Greek. But, actual, god of love. Did a lot of fucked up shit. Made different gods fall in love with each other and crap like that. I guess partially is, one, love is not a choice. It just kind of happens. It's not really a choice that people like. The love drug, oxytocin, and all those things, they aren't choices. They're just biochemical reactions that our body goes through. You can love multiple different types of people and multiple different people. So I tell my wife this all the time and she understands, but I tell people all the time when they're like, well, why did this person have multiple wives or multiple girlfriends or not want to get married or whatever? It's because we're mammals. Like people don't realize that we're fucking mammals, and there's only like one or two mammals on Earth that like mate or get married for life. Otherwise, like all these mammals are going around like fucking everybody. They all have multiple, partners and wives, and again, the whole purpose is to continue the species as a whole. So, Cupid is, great mythological creature or whatever, but I think it's stupid.
Okay, let's go to the Tooth Fairy.
That one is terrifying because that bitch just literally keeps teeth. That's terrifying. That's right. Like, what is that? Like, I imagine just like a throne of human teeth, and she's just like waiting there for your teeth to fall out. Like you want a visit to the Tooth Fairy. you're gonna have to give some body parts for the tooth fairy. Like, don't fucking piss off the tooth fairy. Like we used to pretend like make teeth or like, you know, put teeth under the fake teeth underneath the pillow, and my dad would be like, don't you don't fuck with the tooth fairy. Like, don't fuck with the tooth fairy. She'll take your teeth. You know. Yeah.
Any lessons learned from that?
Anybody who collects teeth for a living, don't piss off. That's the fucking life lesson. You got someone who collects teeth for a living, don't fucking piss that person off, period. Yeah, don't bite the hand that feeds, essentially, because she gives you money for your teeth. But if you want to fake out the tooth fairy, I feel like the tooth fairy she's got a little bit of a fucking Italian in her, okay? Don't fucking fuck with the tooth fairy. She'll take your teeth, all right? Because that's all she wants is your fucking teeth.
Valuable lesson.
Don't fuck with. Valuable lesson, don't fuck with the tooth fairy.
What about the leprechaun?
The leprechaun is terrifying. That's all I remember about the leprechaun. Because everybody's like the sweet and Lucky Charms guy and everything like that. No, the leprechaun is fucking terrifying. Because growing up, there was a movie, and I think there's like 12 of them now. But the leprechaun was a horror movie that came out, and he was a tiny little midget, obviously, a leprechaun, and he looked like Freddy Krueger, and he would go around and kill people and slice them up with his fucking belt buckles. And he'd be like, I'm the leprechaun! Yeah, look it up. It's fucking terrifying. So leprechaun, yeah, pure terror. I don't have any lessons other than avoid fucking leprechauns because they will kill you.
Okay, back to Christmas.
Okay.
We're going to end with the Grinch.
The Grinch. Great lesson, great story. The Grinch didn't hate Christmas. He just hated people. I've seen that out there. That's literally the life lesson there. Like, he just fucking hated humans and humanity in general. And when he saw that humans are naturally good and not entropic, meaning that they would throw out all their shit because they didn't care, they would make noise, they would be joyous or whatever, because that's what humanity tries to grab onto. You know, we're living in an entropic world, meaning that it's always tending towards chaos. If you don't believe that, look around your house. Like, you will have a pile of clothes that slowly gets bigger, a pile of dishes that slowly gets bigger, and it's easier to just leave it than it is to actually clean it up and make it clean. But we feel much better, obviously, when spaces are clean and clear and everything like that. But we as humans, it's easier to be entropic. It's easier to just let shit fall apart than it is to keep shit up. And that's why you see people driving around with cars that bumpers falling off and the duct tape and all that crap, because it's easier to just like let it go than it is to go and get it fixed and have to deal with insurance and all that crap. Entropic beings is what we are. And I think the Grinch is a great lesson in that you don't have to love everyone. He's got a ton of reality lessons in there. Obviously, except for dogs, because dogs, no matter what, anybody can love a dog. Like, and people who don't love dogs are obviously pieces of shit, because even the Grinch loved a dog. But, you know, really all those lessons that he had were about humanity and the good of humanity and the good of people. And people, they may annoy you and they may complain and they may have issues and they may have all these problems, but in the end, they only want, you know, what's best for themselves and the people around them, and the good of humanity is always going to trump, you know, anything out there. I think that's a huge part of the Grinch and the lesson that you can learn from that. And just be yourself. It's fucking fun. Like, no matter who the fuck you are.
Yeah. Well, some of those took a turn that I wasn't expecting, and also made me think.
Don't fuck with the tooth fairy and avoid leprechauns.
Yeah, and it makes me think about, like, whoa, talking about we talked about Bluey and children's cartoons and getting something valuable out of it, but then I think about, whoa, some of these very valuable lessons that you are pulling from these characters, these fictional characters. It's like what are we teaching our children or passing along to our children, like, to believe in or think about, you know?
Yeah.
Like, why are we teaching kids that there's a tooth fairy?
Yeah, we research and I research all of the holidays and stuff like that. I'm majorly into holidays and stuff, and there's all this bad stuff about there. Like my wife hates Halloween because of the spirits, and she thinks it's an evil holiday. And
Me
I
too.
always tell her about the history, and we talk about it. And it's like it's not an evil holiday. It's meant to celebrate the past spirits and everything like that. And there's a very spiritual world in that. And I like to read the history of like all these holidays. Why the fuck do we do this? Like, this is a dumb holiday. Like, what is the actual background of this? And it's important. I think it's important your kids know that too, because otherwise they're going to be told whatever the fuck they're told from other people. That's why people always complain, Christmas is not about gifts, it's about Jesus. Yeah, okay, I get that, but go back to what the original part of Christmas was and what that holiday was based off of, and who commercialized it, like Macy's and J.C. Penney's, to make sure that people would spend more and actually turned it into gift giving and all that crap. And I could digress for fucking all the holidays on earth, but it's cool to know those lessons and learn those lessons so people know the history, or your kids at least know the history of where those things came from and why we celebrate them. And again, it's I guess going back to the kid version is like, why? And you always get fucking pissed at a kid, but then you stop asking why as an adult and as a reason, and because of that, you never grow, you never learn, you never expand. And I think there's been more research nowadays with adults where there was the misnomer, the misunderstanding that kids really stopped learning and really having neuroplasticity after like 5 years old. So, the first 5 years, the most important, that's when you read and listen to music and teach and talk and blah, 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 blah. But they've shown more and more that adults can learn and develop new brain waves and connections and neuroplasticity and stuff as an adult if you do the same shit. If you're consistently trying to learn and try new things and evolve. And that's where you get into those people who seem like phenoms, where they could speak 12, 20 different languages, and they pick up languages super fast, but they're adults. It's like, well, they're just doing the same thing that we did as kids, like consistently trying, consistently immersing themselves. If you think about it, your daughter or our kids are immersed in their lessons every day. The world is new, their words are new. We are speaking a full language that's completely new to them. I mean, if you sat in somebody else's house who didn't speak your language, lived a different way, had a different system for everything, you'd probably pick it up or learn it to a good degree at 2.5, 3 years of just being there. If you tried.
Yeah.
Now, if you just sat in the one room and ignored everybody, yeah. But you'd learn all that stuff too. You'd pick up on the language. You'd pick up on body signals. You'd pick up on like what you're supposed to do in certain situations living in somebody else's house. So they're immersed in our world. And if you don't immerse yourself in somebody else's world or somebody else's learning, you're not going to fucking learn either.
So good. And what I hear you saying is that there are valuable lessons all over, all around us, from real, as we talked about with Chicago, and the dramas, to unreal people like your superheroes and Superman and all that. And even some very valuable lessons from these holiday characters that 100%. We continue to pass on from generation to generation.
100%.
So fun, lighthearted, enjoyed the conversation, and all the value that these characters bring to our lives.
Absolutely. So guys, if you thought this was great, like it, share it, subscribe. We don't advertise. Nobody wants to advertise on our shit, so we need you guys to advertise for us. Share it, post it, link it, tag us. If you have any type of business you want to learn, or watch business videos that I've curated and developed for free, go to dralexpinoso.com. /courses. You could find everything on there. You can always find Amanda May at amandammaybeauty.com. And guys, that's all we have for you today.